up, all my fight fans? So, there has been new recent developments in this ongoing drama between Dana White and Francis Ngannou. Let's get into it, shall we? A little backstory. We all know Dana White came out in a podcast with Andrew Schultz stating that Francis Ngannou is a bad guy to work with, that Francis Ngannou had put hands on him during a meeting with each other in the PI over a $50,000 bonus that Francis Ngannou felt like he owed. He felt like he was owed. So I'm not going to go too further in details, but these two had recently came out with interviews. With Ariel Helwani, Francis Ngannou had mentioned or had stated that, you know, he's not surprised that Dana White is coming out in interviews saying all this, and that if it is true, look at the video, meaning that I'm sure there's cameras within the PI that the people could take a look at. We all know we can't necessarily do that, and that ask Dana. You know, he told Ariel to ask Dana. We all know why Ariel cannot ask Dana, But with that being said, it didn't seem like Francis Ngannou was too keen on defending himself. It didn't seem like Francis Ngannou was so defensive regarding the whole situation. It just really felt like he was over it. Like he felt like he was just so done with this whole drama between him and Dana White that he didn't care no more. That's the vibe I got from Francis Ngannou's interview. That's the vibe I got. And I'm sure everybody else got their own opinion regarding that. Well, Dana White came out with his own rebuttal on the Mac Life. And he basically had mentioned regarding the whole situation with him being touched or being grabbed, whatever phrase you want to use, on Francis Ngannou and him. And it almost felt like he downplayed it, where Dana White was making it to where it was almost a level 9 altercation, to where it was more like a level 2, like, hey, don't go nowhere, we're not done talking. To where the first comment Dana White made, it almost felt like he was being threatened and that shit was about to go down. To where the next comment he made, it almost felt like more of a misunderstanding type of like, wait a minute, don't go nowhere type of thing. You know what I'm saying? For Francis and Dana. So I don't know. I don't know what to make out of all that, but we're definitely going to get more into it as we continue this video for sure, guys. He also had mentioned, Dana White, that he has dealt with a few things over the years, being an MMA promoter, being in the UFC. I believe he's been in the business well over 30 years, if not more, 25 years, 30 years. So I can guarantee you this was not the first time he's ever dealt with somebody like this. He's never dealt with somebody where there was somewhat of altercation. Hell, he maybe even had an altercation with somebody at one time or another. So there's that. And he pretty much said that in not so much words. And usually he keeps that to himself from what I gathered. From what he was saying, it just sounded like they deal with it in their own way. Shit happens. It is what it is. They're men, you know, and it's the business. So there's so much to break down here, guys. Let's talk about Francis first. Now, Francis Ngannou being a bad guy. I have not heard a whole lot regarding Francis Ngannou and being a bad guy from a lot of people. Like, I really haven't heard much. You know, I haven't heard from other fighters. I'm sure that, other fighters or other promoters. There is a bit of the promoter with the PFL. He is not too happy with Francis, being the fact that, you know, the deal that Francis had made with him didn't necessarily go too well for the PFL. I believe they had an $8 million deal, or Francis had made $8 million, somewhere around that line, and he only had one fight with them. Now, it wasn't a blockbuster fight, and it wasn't doing blockbuster numbers. But we all know Francis Ngannou isn't necessarily the big old mega pay-per-view superstar of Conor McGregor. So I'm not too surprised. But I wouldn't say like the pay-per-view numbers were like extremely shitty, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were very low either. So with that being said, yeah, it wasn't necessarily a great deal. I believe the PFL may have overpaid for Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou is a mega star, but the only problem is I agree they should give him that money, but just due to the fact that they didn't have a lot of stars for him to fight, it really wasn't going to go very well in my personal opinion, at all, with him in the PFL. And we all remember, back in 2023, when he left the UFC, it was mostly not to go to the PFL. This wasn't all about the PFL. He just so happened, it was more like a cherry on top of the sundae of him going to boxing. Because that's what he really wanted to do. He wanted to box. And he did that. He went against Tyson Fury, and he made a boatload of money. Then he went against Anthony Joshua, and he made a boatload of money. But with the whole bad guy topic, the whole conversation, I don't remember hearing too much. I'm sure there's a few people that are going to say a few certain things about a person, but that doesn't necessarily make him a bad guy. Now, this is also coming from Dana White. Let's talk about Dana White. We hear things from guys like Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, Quentin Rampage Jackson, and so forth about doing business with Dana White. Ariel Helwani doing business with Dana White. There's a lot that a lot of people will say about Dana White in the topic of being a bad guy. Now, I'm not saying this to downgrade, or not downgrade, but to bash Dana White, to make it seem like Dana White is this horrible person. But what I am saying is, he's a part of a cutthroat business that there's times you are going to put money before your friendship, before doing things the right way. You're not going to necessarily be too 100% about having friends and making sure everything's done the right way and making sure everything's done fair. No, you're going to do what's best for you, what's best for your company, what's best to survive in this company, because this company is very cutthroat. This business can swallow you up, swallow you up and shit you out 100%. So you can be a good guy and you can do great things. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of fighters out there that will say a lot of great things about Dana, but then there's also a lot of fighters out there that's going to say a lot of bad things about Dana. And I'm sure Dana White and Francis Ngannou is not the only fighter he's had really problems and a lot of issues with regarding contracts or negotiations and whatnot. I'm sure of it 100%. But that's not the case. That doesn't make Francis Ngannou a bad guy. Is he difficult to work with? Is he a hard ass? Is he troubling? Is he all these other things? Okay, yeah, maybe he is very difficult to work with. Maybe it's hard for him to get him to understand certain money wise and negotiations. That's fine, but that does not make him a bad guy. That doesn't mean you don't do business with the man. You can still do business with a person and him being very difficult to work with. He may not be the most pleasant person to work with, but again, you can't call him a bad guy. Beating a woman, beating your wife is a bad guy. Hitting a person who refuses to drink is a bad guy. Hitting a pregnant woman, hit and run, and leaving the scene is a bad guy, and so forth and so forth. There has been so many fighters, pound for pound fighters, champions of the world, that were way worse than Francis Ngannou. And Dana White continues to work with them. So I don't feel as if this is a situation of Francis being, of this being him being a bad guy. I don't feel like that's the topic. I really don't. I feel like it's more of maybe, this is just my personal opinion, that maybe it just so happens to be that Francis Ngannou got out of Dana White's contract and he actually won. If this was him going just to be a PFL, then I would understand. It didn't do very good. But that wasn't about the whole case. He wanted to box. It was never ever about the PFL. It was always him wanting to box. And that's what he did. He went against Tyson Fury and he made a lot of money. More money than he made in the UFC. Maybe it's different today. Maybe if you were to sign today, it would be a different load of money then. But no, when he boxed Tyson Fury, he made so much money. And boxing Anthony Joshua, he made so much money that it really, I don't think it sit too well with Dana White in the UFC. I really don't. Because it made them look bad. It made them look like, damn, Not only did he win the heavyweight championship when he left, but he also made a lot of money. It could be an ego thing. It could be a pride thing. It could be any of those things. But I don't feel like it's him being a bad guy because, again, Dana White works with a lot of people that are way worse than Francis Ngannou and continues to work with them and wants to continue to work with them. Wants to continue to put them in fights. And I feel like Dana White knows this, and I feel like even more so, Dana White knows he needs Francis Ngannou more than Francis Ngannou probably needs him. Because Francis Ngannou could box. And we're going to get into that topic as well about Francis Ngannou and fighting. But Francis Ngannou could box and continue to make money. Where the heavyweight division in the UFC is definitely nowhere near as great as it's been before. It is so bad, it is so sad. He needs Francis Ngannou more than Francis Ngannou needs him. He really, really, truly does. But out of pride, out of ego, I do not know what it is. But it definitely isn't because he is a bad guy. My personal opinion regarding that. Now, Francis Ngannou, he may be difficult to work with. It might be a little bit more of a challenge. Okay, that's fine. I get that. And it sucks because Francis, he needs to be active. He needs to be a little bit more active, but we all know why he's not a little more active, because his personal life hasn't been the very best, honestly. It really hasn't. His personal life, we all know, a year ago, he went through something that no man, no father should ever go through. He lost his son. His son passed away. His 18-month-year-old son passed away. I'm a father, and I cannot imagine what that man continues to go through, because losing a child is not something that you get out of your head overnight. It is something that you deal with for the rest of your life until the end of time for you. It is never, ever going to go away for that man. Then he gets into an accident that ends up taking a life of somebody else. Now you go through another traumatic situation where a life is taken from an accident that you were a part of. So I'm sure that is even going through his head. The very last thing that any man or any person would even think about doing is actually wanting to fight, wanting to get in the cage, because you got so much going on in your head. A life was taken from an accident you were a part of, and you lost a child. So you got to kind of understand on what is going on with him. You got to understand the situation regarding him, about his decision on not fighting at this moment. That's my personal opinion regarding his personal life and regarding everything, regarding that whole situation on why he's not fighting. But from the understanding of him not fighting from Jake Paul or Deontay Wilder, and seeing that there's possible contracts or possible negotiations that did not go very well, that's where I do got a little bit of an issue where, hey, Francis, you might want to lower down your money belt a little bit. You might want to take your pride and ego and stop thinking you're maybe this Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, and you deserve these hundreds and hundreds of millions. If you get the 10, 20, $30 million offer, take it. Because again, this is just one fight, maybe two fights. If you can fight Jake Paul, no, he is not. It's not a competitive, or it's a superstar, or you're going to get a heavyweight championship belt. No, but you're going to get paid for sure. Take those fights. Because you need a fight, because you do not get better at not doing the thing that you want to do. If you are not boxing, if you're not fighting in the cage, you are not getting better. You're just literally letting your skills go to waste. And that's my personal opinion regarding him not fighting, regarding his negotiation rumor, because these are all rumors. These are all hearsays, 100%. What happened in his personal life, that's actual fact. What Dana White saying he's a bad guy, no, he is not. We know bad guys. We've seen bad guys in that cage. We know what it's like. And they're still in there doing business, making money, making a lot of money. So in my after everything I just said, everything I just mentioned, what Dana White needs to do is he needs to swallow his pride and say, you know what, I do need heavyweights. What Francis Ngannou needs to do is, hey, we both had disagreements. We both said some things that we did not mean. We did not, or maybe did mean, but you know what? We don't have to like each other, but we do got to work with each other. There's a lot of people in this world that do that for the best of their business. Dana White wants to make his business money. You need Francis. Francis, you want to make more money. You need Dana White. Because you're not going to find anywhere else. You can fight Jake Paul, Deontay Wilder. Let's say you beat Jake Paul. Let's say you beat Deontay Wilder. You're not going to be a heavyweight champion of the world because you just don't have those kind of skills to be heavyweight champion of the world. Beating guys like Tyson Fury or Usyk or Anthony Joshua. So being champion of the world, the only way he's ever going to be champion of the world is in MMA. The PFL is done because there's nobody there to fight, and you're not going to make that much money in the PFL. It's done. Get out of there. At the end of all this, they need to stop talking about each other. Francis Ngannou needs to go inside and do the best he can do to make a deal with the UFC. Dana White needs to swallow his pride and say, you know what? I need you. We need each other. We need to work with each other. We need to do the best business so we can have the best fights. Francis Ngannou versus John Jones. Francis Ngannou versus Alex Pereira. Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall. And a part 1, a part 2, maybe even a part 3. It could be epic. The heavyweight division would be booming if these guys can stop with the drama and get into the cage with each other. Well, not get into the cage with each other, but do a business deal so they both can actually have this, start making money with each other to where they both can actually grow the business, to where they both can finally have the best fights. Dana White can have the best fight for his promotion. Francis Ngannou have the best fight for his career. That's my personal opinion, guys. But I definitely would like to hear yours regarding Francis Ngannou and Dana White. What should Francis Ngannou do? Should he go back in business with Dana White? Should Dana White swallow his pride and stop doing the trash talking? Should Francis Ngannou just forget MMA, go straight into boxing, and do his best to become the heavyweight boxing champion of the world? So many options. So many things that Francis Ngannou needs to do and think about and figure out. So many things that Dana White needs to do and think about and figure out to save his heavyweight division. Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.